Recording. Just some quick housekeeping. Please feel free to chat all of the questions so our presenter can answer them throughout the presentation and at the end. The chat button is located on the bottom center of the screen. And we will be posting this onto our website and sending out post-visit surveys along with certificates for all attendees. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to our Executive Director, Storm Webb, to give the introduction of our speaker.
Thanks so much, Mariah, and thank you everyone for your time this afternoon. We're so excited to have you here with us today. We have a lot of excellent content to share, so I'll be brief in my introduction of today's presenter. We have Christine DeSanti, who is the Chief Customer Officer of LifeCubby. LifeCubby is an easy-to-use management software, which was actually designed by a center owner for owners. So with that brief intro out of the way, I'll turn this over to Christine to begin our training. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. It's a little chilly here in Central Ohio, but the sun is shining, so that always makes for a better day on this webinar Wednesday. Today, we're going to be talking about stress management tips for center owners. I moved my cursor out of the way. Sorry about that. We've got a poll question here. What causes you the most stress when it comes to operating a childcare center? Is it financial management, health concerns, parents, staff, or all of the above? And another question we have in our poll is, what are some ways that help you manage your stress? So if you could take a couple minutes to kind of answer that for me, that would be fantastic.
All right. For those of you who are not unable to see the poll, I have put it in the chat for you to go ahead and answer those questions.
Awesome. It looks like so far staff is pretty much close to the top as one of the most causes of stress. And I, as a former administrator, I understand that very much. So yeah, overwhelmingly, staff is more than half of most of the concerns, where health concerns are the least amount, and then parents and financial management pretty much are running head to head there. So today we're going to talk about the ongoing challenge of stress in childcare. While working in this industry, it is highly rewarding, and it is also difficult for many reasons. It requires patience, empathy, communication, and providing a positive environment for colleagues and families. Stress management is important for your well-being as well as for those around you. That's why we'll be discussing tips for navigating stress when it comes to your kids, families, staff, and most importantly, yourself. These best practices will help you run a successful center and avoid burnout. Additionally, this is an extremely stressful time to work in childcare because of the pandemic and how it affects your day-to-day operations, including closures or hours of operation, safety for your staff and children, meeting new protocols with licensing, drop-off and pickup arrangements, which may include not allowing your parents into the center. And as a result of these added stresses, many early childhood education professionals are getting burned out and overwhelmed. A little bit about me. My name is Christine DeSanti, and I am the Chief Customer Officer at LifeCubby. We are a top-rated childcare center management software developed by an actual center owner. This note alone literally separates us from all the competition out there. I have spent, prior to joining LifeCubby in 2011, I was the company's first employee. I spent my career teaching children and managing childcare centers. I have also been on several committees here in Central Ohio for licensing guidelines and on the preliminary committee back in the early 2000s, which seems like eons ago, for our state star rating system. The center that I was with was the 9th center to sign up for our star rating program when they launched it back in 2002, I think it was. I also co-founded a Christian directors group where we have monthly meetings to support each other and discuss our challenges. Working in childcare has allowed me to see the impact stress can have on everyone involved. Stress is normal, but it doesn't mean it should be normalized. Focusing on ways to relieve stress for kids, families, and staff, and yourself will help create a safe space for everyone. Here's a picture of some of my staff from many, many years ago. On the left, we're actually at a field trip. I think it was a pumpkin patch. And on the right, that's my staff. We had a superheroes themed week, and all the teachers wore superhero themed shirts. So it really kind of, made coming to work a little bit more fun because we got to do really fun things. Staff stressors can be due to a lack of work-life balance, families passing on their stressors to the staff, and not enough time to complete tasks. If this happens, it could lead to burnout, which means underperforming staff, or worse yet, losing staff. That's why it's important to develop a plan and solutions to help reduce their stress. One of the things that I learned from one of my mentors in the Christian directors group that I had was she had meetings with her staff once a week, and those were one-on-one meetings. They could be anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, but it was just an easy way for you to check in with your staff and to let them know that you're there and that you want to be their partner in helping them get through, the week, the day, etc. You can encourage staff to be open about their stressors, the good and the bad. Sometimes it's hard to hear the bad, but it also validates, you have the opportunity to be an active listener and validate your staff's feelings. It's also important to make sure that your mental and physical health are a priority for both you and your staff. This will make you a better center administrator and/or owner, and your staff will thank you for it. Other ways you can reduce stress for your staff include providing tools for them to succeed, offering resources to teachers, such as an easy way to get in touch with parents, track their students' whereabouts, and just offer a software that can do it all. You can provide professional development and/or hold training sessions where they can learn new skills and best practices for handling situations with families. And you can encourage time off. Now, I know a lot of centers are struggling with staffing, so that might be the last thing you're thinking about when it comes to helping staff members alleviate some of their stressors. However, with spring break coming up, you may have lower attendance in some of your classrooms, and therefore you may be able to give a teacher or two some time off. Having a software that helps you forecast that can help you see attendance in the future and know what your staffing needs would be. You can also plan ahead for teaching supplies when possible. You can do that. You can raise money by hosting a teacher supply drive at your center. You can also offer the option for people to generously buy supplies of staff wish lists on Amazon. I would have killed for something like that when I was the director. Those wish lists are amazing and such an easy way to help. You can direct your teachers to DIY tutorial videos online and avoid spending money in using creative alternatives. And you can also have staff collaborate with other teachers and they can share supplies. One of the ideas I incorporated at my center was a giving tree or a wish list tree. I've kind of put up a little example here on the left. At the beginning of the year, we'd have a giving tree during holiday time and then also for teacher appreciation. I would theme the tree around the time of the year. So in the fall, I'd have apples and fall colored leaves where the teachers would write their wish list items on. Over the holidays, it would be a winter theme. And then during teacher appreciation, it was usually a spring theme. Parents loved this because they could walk up, read what is available. They could pick and choose what would be easy for them to get, or if they could afford to do a couple more things than just one. It really gave the parents an easy way to help, and it took the guessing game out of what do I get my teacher for a gift or for teacher appreciation, that kind of thing. You can reward teachers and staff for all the hard work that they do. It's important to acknowledge your staff because they are the core part of your center. And if a teacher or admin does something outstanding, don't let it go unnoticed. One of the things that I did at one of my centers was I took that giving tree, and when we weren't using it for teacher supplies, I turned it into a teacher kind of like praise tree or thankful tree. And again, I would theme it for the time of the year. And I would put themed sticky notes with markers on the by the tree so parents and children could write something special about their teacher. It was such a great way to let teachers know that they were appreciated, or that there was something special about a person. And at the end of the year, or at the end of that theme, I would actually take those sticky notes and I would put them either in a journal or on a poster and give it to the teachers at the end of the school year. So they had kind of a way to remember how they impacted their students throughout the year. It's also important to celebrate birthdays and work anniversaries. Having small celebrations, cakes, or even just a card is important to letting the staff know that they're valued, and it will create a connection internally with other employees. You can also celebrate your employees. Celebrating your employees will keep your staff happy and ultimately help with retention. We also at my center had an appreciation lunch or breakfast once a month. During that time, we would celebrate birthdays. We had an employee of the month, and we would have a potluck, and we would have a sign up genius for parents. They provided all of the food. And it was just a great way for the parents to show their appreciation, and also to give the teachers like a special celebration to say, hey, you are valued, you are important, and here's just a small way to let them know that. Center directors and owners, if you don't know this, you all are true superheroes, and same with your staff. We were just speaking earlier before the webinar. I cannot imagine being an owner or a director at this time. There are so many challenges. So hopefully this discussion will kind of give you some ideas of how you can help yourself and your center and families. Certain stressors for directors and center owners could be tuition and billing, monitoring your students' progress, and monitoring the health of everyone at your center. Some of those things, you didn't really think about back, 5 years ago, but now it's so important more than ever. So with that, financial management can include your tuition and billing. Do you send invoices home with students? At the end of the day, chances are you'll find yourself crossing your fingers and hoping the bill gets to the right person and they don't forget about it when they get home. Especially if dad's picking up, you're pretty sure that that invoice is either under the car seat or under the front seat, and it's got muddy footprints all over it, and mom will never see that invoice. With either method, paper and time costs can quickly add up. Plus, for centers who only accept cash or check payments, finding a time in the day to leave your center to go to the bank and wait in line to deposit your funds can feel near impossible. With a digital billing solution, you can quickly set up recurring payments and send digital invoices to parents. You can offer online bill pay, and you can set up automatic payments either on the center side or on the family side. Offering parents that 24/7 access to tuition and payment logs saves you time and also alleviates that stress of having discussions about, are they late, or when is their payment due? When they have access to this information 24/7, it takes that guesswork out and can help you with having those awkward conversations. Having the 24/7 access to tuition and payment logs would allow them to run their own reports for tax purposes or for reimbursement for flexible spending accounts. And then it also can cut down on your billing related expenses and your payment turnaround time. Keeping up with regulatory issues, again, at this time, I mean, there's so much change and it happens often. And sometimes it's not given to you in a timely manner. You know, this industry is, you know, overly regulated with health and safety of students. And you know, rightly so in some cases, but the amount of paperwork and things that you have to do can be overwhelming. Keeping up with the latest regulations and requirements can be stressful, with the legal landscape is always changing, and giving your teachers the tools they need to ensure you're following appropriate paperwork, safety, and emergency protocols. Setting up a system for record keeping and take time to train your staff on processes. Developing an organized system for document maintenance, creating calendar reminders around important renewal dates, and then setting aside an hour at the end of each week to read through industry news around regulation. If you're not super tech savvy or you haven't made Google your best friend, there is a way for you to set what are called Google alerts for certain topics you're interested in. So I have Google alerts for, you know, our competitors. I have Google alerts for early childhood education news. You can set up alerts for your state's licensing body or even your local resource and referral. And Google will collate that data and send you an email once a day or once a week, giving you links to different articles about what you're asking the alert to get, you know, what you want the system to alert you for. I have found them to be super helpful. I don't always go through them. I might just skim the titles of the articles, and if something's interesting, I may link it and bookmark it. Or I actually have a file in my email where my Google alerts will go if I didn't have a chance to go through and see if there was an alert that was of interest to me. But again, it's a super great way to be able to keep up on that kind of news around your center and your licensing information. Recruiting and retaining staff. You know, during the pandemic, it's reported that 1 in 4 teachers are contemplating quitting their jobs. You know, that's really, really tough. Most centers have moved back to in-person learning, but the shortage of qualified early childhood teachers has made it hard for many programs to continue operating at the same capacity they were prior to the pandemic. Since there was such high demand for good talent, it's important for directors to make a connected effort to keep teachers engaged, happy, and motivated. You can do that by creating a culture where you recognize your employees. I've given you some ideas for that by celebrating those special events and milestones, including birthdays and work anniversaries, creating that thankful tree. You can provide developmental opportunities. There are a lot of online resources, including a sister company of ours, where you can have online trainings for your staff. You could make it a day. We've had in the past kind of teacher planning days, and we've closed the center, and we'll use half of the time to do some type of professional development. And then the other half we would use for kind of like room cleanup or room redesign. But it, in that day, you can do all of those things to help, keep your staff motivated, recognize them. And you can also do team building sessions. Thank you again to Google and the internet. In today's busy life, being able to search for ideas, tips, and tricks are at your fingertips. You could literally just type in, team building sessions or team building exercises, and there's hundreds of resources out there. I also had a book when I was a director. It was given to me by one of my mentors called The Visionary Director. And I use that a lot when trying to create a positive culture in my center. So that's definitely a really good resource that you can use. Keeping your center healthy to avoid closures is super important. You know, due to this pandemic, health is emphasized more than ever. You know, I remember, you know, our biggest worry was, you know, a little runny nose. And now it's, you know, spreading, you know, this disease all over your center, you know, so easily. However, long after it ends, we still need to prioritize for health season or flu season, excuse me, and other health illness outbreaks. If you've ever had a hand, foot, and mouth disease outbreak in your center, it's devastating. And, you know, it's very, very frustrating because it's very hard to, you know, keep people out of the center because, you know, parents need to work, but you also have to think about the health and safety, you know, of your families. According to the National Institutes of Child and Human Development, kids in daycare get sick more often than kids at home. You know, we all see it, especially, you know, those younger kids when they're first starting, you know, just to attend childcare, they're sick all the time. That's why it's important to do those daily health checks in your centers, and a great way to eliminate stress because you're able to monitor your health of your students and reduce the spread of illness at your center. This easy preventative measure can happen quickly as parents drop off their children. As you greet each child, you can conduct a simple health screening, including a temperature check. You can note any reported illnesses affecting the child and our family members, or outward symptoms and signs such as rash, sneezing, coughing. By administering these quick health checks, you can create a peace of mind for you, your staff, and your families. And it also sends a message to everyone that health is a top priority at your center. Using a digital solution can help show licensing and health regulators how you are meeting new protocols for health and safety, and if it is a permanent record for you and your staff efforts. Incorporating other best practices at your center to ensure everyone's safety year-round. You can create a cleaning schedule. You can opt into class meals rather than eating in a group setting, such as in a cafeteria. You can encourage frequent hand washing during the day and have sanitation stations throughout the center, including indoor and outdoor playgrounds. I went to a center visit last spring, and they had a portable hand washing station out on the playground. So if somebody sneezed or blew their nose or something like that, they knew that they should walk over to the sanitation station and clean up. So it was really cool to see that they have these different types of ways that you can kind of keep that health as a priority for your center. You can track staff and student whereabouts throughout the day, and immediately notify staff and families if a child shows symptoms or says they aren't feeling well to determine their level of exposure. Another great way to eliminate stress due to health concerns is to have a contactless center. You can incorporate a digital check-in and check-out system. You can use digital documents to avoid germs on paper and close contact required to exchange those physical documents. And also, as we talked about earlier, those physical documents tend to stay in the car or get ruined by the students going in and out of their backpacks. Communicate with families using the software instead of face-to-face contact. If you can tackle these common stress areas, you will free up more time for you to focus on yourself. I love this little image of that face you make when you think someone is cutting you off in the school pickup line. When we were adding onto our existing center, for the safety of the students, we had to have a drop-off and pickup line. It was a construction zone, and it just wasn't safe to let the kids run around, you know, the entrance to the building. And I hated it. I hated it at first because it just seemed like one extra thing I had to do. But in the end, it was actually fantastic. And I've heard that many centers moved to this during the height of the pandemic and have had a lot of discussion about how they're probably going to continue doing that, because it did obviously help parents and siblings out with COVID control and exposure. They just liked the way that it worked. It made for those drop-offs and pickups to go much more smoothly. I mean, nothing ruins your day more than a kid who's screaming at the door because they don't want their mom to leave, you know, or they don't want their dad to leave at drop-off. So, you know, and if you're lucky, you know, at the end of the day, you have those kids that are like, I don't want to go home. We're just getting ready to do, you know, play in the Play-Doh area. You know, it's just a different way you can think about how you can have a contactless center for your families. It is super, super, super important for you to take care of yourself. I know that it's hard to do self-care, but think about different ways you can do that by disconnecting when you're at home. Don't look at your email for work. It'll be there in the morning. Substitute technology with something different, like cooking or going outdoors to unplug and recharge. Do something you enjoy at least once a month. Treat yourself to a nice dinner, a spa day, or, you know, lunch with friends or colleagues. If you have the ability to create a, you know, directors group or owners group in your area, go for it. It is such a blessing to have people who are in your shoes and be able to talk about the different challenges you may having, hear their, you know, how they deal with things from that perspective, getting different opinions. I could not say enough about my mentorship group that I had when I was first starting as an administrator. And then journaling. I started journaling probably after year 4 or 5 of being a director. And it's really satisfying. And it also helps when you seem to run into the same problem time after time to kind of go back and reflect on how did I deal with it, you know, when I had this problem 6 months ago. Because, you know, so many things happen and so many things change. You may not remember how you dealt with that stressor. But if you're journaling about it, you have that kind of record. Self-care is so important. When you take time to replenish your spirit, it allows you to serve others from the overflow. You cannot serve from an empty vessel. So it's super, super important to take care of yourself. Resting your body. Wow, what a concept. I know that seems crazy. You know, I'm sure you all are working 8, 10, 12 hours a day running your center, but it is so important for you to take care of yourself and rest. Burnout will happen if we don't remember to hit the pause button from time to time. Practice mindfulness. Creating moment-to-moment awareness will significantly reduce stress rather than thinking ahead. Meditation, quiet time, listening to music before leaving the classroom or once you're home allows you to redirect anxious energy into something positive. One of the centers I was an administrator for was super stressful. My kids were younger and I had a lot of guilt about going back to work. I had this routine that was shared with me by a mentor. When I pull into the parking lot of the center, I would grab a small brown paper bag and I would either scream into the bag or I would yell or talk into the bag. And it was a way of me kind of leaving my stresses or voicing my stresses that were outside of the center and kind of like putting them in this bag. And then I would close up the bag and put it on the seat beside me. And I would go into the office or go into, you know, into the center. And that really helped because it was a way for me kind of to acknowledge that I had stress outside of the center, but it also allowed me to put it aside so that my focus when I left my car, my van, it would allow me to put my focus in on the center itself. And I could leave, you know, my home challenges or outside of center challenges, you know, outside of the center. And then I found this awesome video that I'm gonna, you know, end this little discussion with. It is about early childhood and self-care, and it has a lot of really industry experts kind of talk about it. And I think it's a really great way to kind of wrap up what we talked about.
Hey, Christine, this is Storm. I'm wondering if you can hear it. I don't know if our participants can hear it.
Oh, I can hear it.
Okay, you may have to enable a unique setting under Zoom to allow us to hear that information. Let me see if we can also get that started. Perhaps Mariah or myself can figure that out and we can share that insight. Yeah. Do you mind giving us kind of an overview of what the video will discuss, and we'll work on getting that arranged?
Sure. So can everybody hear that, or am I just talking to you?
Everyone can hear you. They can't hear the video at this time.
Okay. Well, I mean, I can certainly stop the video. The video basically is let me go to the next screen. I apologize for that. That video was just, and I can send the link for that or put the link for that in the chat here in just a couple minutes. Basically, it was just a great kind of way for you to realize that, you know, you're not the only ones that have these stressors, and these industry experts, some of them were administrators, some of them were mental health people, and it was just a way for or a different view of how important self-care is, and to take the time for that self-care. So I apologize for that. I also have this slide here from Pathways to Success. When I was doing my research for this topic, I came across this slide or this poster, and I thought it was a really great way to kind of remind yourself how important it is to do self-care, and some quick and easy ways to do that. You know, treat yourself to, you know, that coffee, or, you know, taking a break when you need it. Going for a walk, you know, during your lunch break, instead of, you know, sitting at your computer while eating your sandwich and, you know, thumbing through your emails. So how can LifeCubby help you? LifeCubby offers a multitude of functionalities that allow you to accomplish all the things we mentioned, with helping relieve some of that stress in a digital way. And because we were created by a center owner, we have firsthand experience on what owners and administrators need to run a successful business. Center owners and teachers and parents can access information in real time without the need of being physically present. It allows you to send invoices to parents for center related costs, and they can access tuition logs, online payments, and more with a few simple clicks. LifeCubby provides daily health checks and ratio alert features to monitor wellness, as well as student and staff activity. We have over 100 reports to plan ahead for expenses, staffing, and more. And using a system like LifeCubby has proven to save 3 to 5 hours a week, so you can focus on being the best childcare provider you can be. Thank you so much for your time today. Let's open this up to a Q&A.
Thanks, Christine. This is Storm again with NCCA. We're just looking now to see how perhaps Mariah or myself can share that video so that the audience can hear. At this time, we've not received any chats so far for further clarification, but we would encourage everyone, if you do have a question, you can raise your hand and we're happy to unmute you so you can ask that directly to Christine. Or if you wanted to chat a question in the chat bar, we can address that now so that everyone gains that knowledge together.
Thank you so much for adding the Google Alerts and the Visionary Director link. The Google Alerts are amazing. It is just a great way for, basically a system to catalog all of the important information that may have, early childhood education as a mention in an article. So I just love those. LifeCubby does not have a door opening and closing system at this time. Prior to the pandemic, the creator of LifeCubby actually owned a center, and we were in the process of testing that out with our software. And during the pandemic, she retired and sold her center. So our hands-on training kind of facility and test facility kind of went away the wayside. So it is definitely on our radar as something to offer to our clients. Great question, thank you.
We found a walkthrough to enable sound on your side. Perhaps
Okay.
we can try that. Next to the share screen button, do you see an option to allow share computer sound?
Share screen.
And then there should be like a little arrow to open some advanced settings.
Yes.
And you can share computer sound. And then let's try it again.
Okay, great. Awesome. All right. Veronica or Veronique, I will answer that question when we're done with this little quick video.
We can hear it. Perfect.
Thank you so much. You guys are the best.
Self-care is really about doing what you need to do to take care of yourself physically and emotionally. So it's not something that is frivolous, it's actually essential for us to protect our well-being.
Taking care of self is critical. This is hard work, really hard work. And so acknowledge it and give yourself the opportunity to take a breath before you get to doing.
We do this work because we care. It's very normal to be affected. It's very normal too to just, maybe your sleep gets disturbed. Maybe you start doing self-care, but of a different kind of self-care, like you're having that extra milkshake or that extra glass of wine. People don't pay attention that what they're trying to do is regulate themselves.
If we want to be healthy enough to do our jobs, then it's important for us to develop a routine of healthy habits that we engage in regularly, both at home and at work.
What I've started asking professionals to think about is write out a plan of care for yourself and commit whatever that means in your personal life, if that means meditating 10 minutes a day, if that means yoga, if that means running.
I think just, finding something that feels good to you and trying to do that a few times a week. I would say every day if you could, and it could be something as simple as, reading. If that's what you like to do, then make sure you carve that half hour or an hour a day to give to yourself. If it's working out, then that's what you do. If it's taking a walk, if it's playing with your pets, with your kids, with whatever it is that you really truly enjoy, and then trying to be present.
I found that this, those coloring pages are a great way for people like me with a very active brain, thinking about everything we got to do. That's a nice way, put on some nice music and just take 10 minutes and do some coloring. That is a nice way to just sort of step back and kind of quiet your brain a little bit.
The body scan is a tremendous thing. Scanning every part of your body from your toes to your head and relaxing everything, and then when you're done, you realize that when you do it, the more you do it, the more you can focus and be in the present moment, because our minds are just scattered to here, there, everywhere.
The thought of taking that mindful minute and clearing your mind before you start work could be helpful, to just clear your mind and sit quietly and just be for a moment before you have to do the doing that's necessary for you to support these families.
You really have to think about, what am I doing on a daily basis while I'm at work to take care of myself? What kinds of supports am I seeking out to ensure that I can be effective in my job? Who am I finding that I can talk to process the stress that I face, so that I can continue to do what I need to do to be there for children and for families?
I think it's critical to really try to find safe space where you can process your experience and talk about it and talk about the feelings, because there's a lot of feelings involved in this work.
Talk about that honestly and frankly, about when this child does this behavior, this is what happens to me. And describe the symptoms, describe what it feels like to get escalated, and get aware of that.
It's that parallel process that we talk about. If we want to provide the best social emotional support for children, then we need to be getting that kind of support from someone as well. It's equally important for the supervisor to have someone to talk with.
We've heard of sites actually, before a meeting begins, they stop and they take a pause and they take a mindful minute before they even start their meetings, which is really great in terms of just allowing for people to take inventory of where they are before they start the work that they have to do for the day. Is really important.
I also think it's important to take time off, to be aware of how much vacation time do I have? Do I have personal time? Is there a mental health day possible? And I think organizations need to be able to recognize in their staff when they're pushed to their limits.
If you need a day off, a mental health day, just take it, you know. It's okay. It's okay. If you need it, you need it.
If we don't take care of ourselves, we're not going to we're going to burn out and not be able to take care of each other. So
It's really critical that we advocate for ourselves and for our needs. If we don't prioritize our own physical health, our own mental health, then we can't bring our best selves to work. And that's what we owe our families and the children that we work with. We need to make sure that we are providing the best support we can, and we can only do that when we're healthy.
Thank you so much for helping assist with that. I just thought it was a great way to kind of reinforce what I talked about, and to hear from some industry experts on how important that self-care is, and being able to care for your staff and families. One of the questions that was posed in the chat was, does every state accept digital sign in and out process and also digital forms? I honestly don't know the answer to that, but I would be absolutely shocked if there was a state that did not accept digital sign in and out. I think some digital forms are allowed in most states, some are not. But I would certainly talk with your licensing representative. There is a federal law called the Paper Reduction Act, which actually was passed, I think, back in the mid 2000s, so like between 2005 2010, so before we started our company. And it basically says you need to do what you can to reduce the use of paper in your in government or state licensed agencies. And so that kind of propelled us to build something like LifeCubby, because it really is making Child Care Center paperless. If you need to print something out, of course you can, but everything is basically available to the parents either through the family app or the web. So that would be a great question for your state licensing agent, or even maybe your local resource and referral. But these types of systems are so common now. I would be surprised if your state didn't allow that digital sign-in. Great question. Did anybody else have any more questions for me today?
All right, we'll give that just a couple minutes to see if any more questions come in or if anyone would like to raise their hand and be unmuted so that we can hear your question.
Okay. I see in one of the attendants, Jennifer Lopez is here. That's pretty exciting.
I'm sure you get that all the time, Miss Jennifer.
I'm sure she does.
All right, well, maybe we can give everyone a couple minutes back to their day. I know your time is so precious, so we really appreciate everyone's time and attendance today. Please look for your certificate and post-webinar survey to be shared within the next week or so. And we look forward to hosting you again soon to present more about resources that LifeCubby can help solve in our stressful days in this time and age, as well as sharing with everyone future registrations for our Wednesday webinars.
Awesome. Thank you again very much, everybody. Hope
you
you have
so
an
much.
awesome day.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care.